Click the links for Odyssey, Bit Chute, join this channel, become a member, or support channel of various other links. Join the Telegram or the Gab if you're brave. So, if you have been paying attention, you're kind of seeing a little bit of a resurgence in the people pushing back against political correctness, and for good reason, because the left wing has lost their freaking minds. They're pushing way too hard. All they would have had to have done to win was just take things slow and gradually boil the frog, and they would have been fine. But they lack self-awareness also. So there's a group of people on the left, social media people, media reporters. And it's not just writers for BuzzFeed. It's writers across the spectrum, because the media is left wing. It's like 99% of the media is pretty safely left wing. So they're having a hard time dealing with this pushback against political correctness. In the 90s, political correctness reared its ugly head, and people just laughed at it, and they laughed at it immediately, and it kind of went away. And then after God, Emperor Trump, they lost their minds. The media lost their minds. They took the mask off, and they just the weirdest lizard people running the media. And people start to look at this and go, oh, so the people who are controlling this narrative are deeply, deeply disturbed people. And this guy, for example, lacks a lot of self-awareness. He's speaking as if we care what he thinks, and I don't mean that sounds like, well, what's the difference? We wouldn't care what he thinks. Anyway, no, I mean, like, he's speaking as if we're not going to, call him out kind of for what he is. On YouTube, you're a little bit limited, but with Elon Musk possibly buying Twitter, things on Twitter have changed a little bit. The social media environment is changing as people are moving. The right is moving further right, to some regards. And a lot of people who are libertarian, liberals, moderates are looking at a lot of this crazy Bolshevik revolution. And, a lot of times stuff that was, we look at the slippery slope, and like myself, libertarian, liberal, live and let live. What you want to do is fine. Gay marriage, guarding your marijuana fields with fully automatic ARs is fine. Was fine with me at one time. And I go, oh yeah, live and let live. Well, it turns out it's a losing strategy, because they want some things, but they don't want to respect your rights. It's just authoritarianism coming from the left. So people see that slippery slope, and they move to the right, because they realize that standing still is moving to the left, because the window just keeps shifting further and further left. So at one time, people maybe would have engaged with these kind of ideas, but now, this guy looks like a clown, more so than any time. I mean, he's a clown, but people are kind of seeing through this. I think even people on the left are looking at this and yeah, you guys complain about, he allegedly got called some gamer words online on a video game. He got called gamer words. Welcome to the internet, you big pussy. That's the internet. I'm not exactly sure what you would want to have happen there. You can call them gamer words too. And then somebody was pointing out, he was playing some video game, Hearth, I think, and they said, yeah, it doesn't have voice chat enabled. You gotta enable friends to have voice chat. So it's very unlikely that the people you're friends with are calling you these gamer words. And they go, oh yeah, well I was on that. I was on Discord. And then people pointed out the inconsistencies with the Discord. You have to friend people to have the voice chat enabled. So I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like with a lot of social media, people, you realize it's the Tumblr speak, where they tell some story, and then the punchline of the story is then everyone clapped, because in their head they kind of, it's not that the story is true or not true, because even I think a lot of left wing audiences are listening to it and they go oh yeah. Yeah, you realize the story is probably not true. It's just what they want. It's just a story, a fictional story meant to exemplify a situation. It's kind of like a confirmation bias virtue signaling echo chamber. So even though you hear these stories and then I told off this guy at the restaurant who was being so istophobic to our trans otherkin furry waitress, and I told him off, and then everyone clapped. Like, oh yeah, you read a bunch of these stories on Twitter, and it's oh okay, some of this stuff is probably not happening. You look at your own life at times going to restaurants, and you realize like yeah, people aren't really doing that kind of thing. It happens in these Twitter minds. And my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, was telling me about Trump's America and the socio-political economic policies of Ukraine and how it will impact her. Like, oh, I guess she didn't. I guess you just made that story up. Like, because you're just a delusional, insane, virtue signaling twat who needs dopamine on social media. Anyway, so some of these people on the left there's the rise of the shitlords. The gamers are the most marginalized and oppressed people on earth. They're not comfortable dealing with sudden pushback from these, I guess, I don't know if they're exactly right of center, because they're not all right of center, but they are all politically incorrect. That is what's growing. The right is growing also, but the politically incorrect, moderate, and right is growing probably faster than anything, because they're tired of these people who are in glass houses throwing stones. Everything is ethnicity. And it's like, oh well, what about yours? Is that an issue? Should we start discussing that? Something like that. You start pushing back against the glass houses, and they lose their freaking minds over it. Anyway, so he keeps talking about diversity and inclusion, I guess, in games. And he goes, oh, most of the kids I play with are of European origin. I mean, one, how do you know what they are? You're just playing with voices on the internet. You don't know what they are. He says he uses a black icon. So maybe he assumes that other people are using other icons, and they are what their icons are. So he doesn't know that. He's just being a racist idiot. He's also married to look at his you can look up his wife. It's his wife doesn't look like him, which is weird, because you see that kind of a lot with the wokey wokes on social media. They're God, using that movie, was it 40 Ounces in the Hood or something that came out like 20 years ago with the Wayans brothers, I think. Where it's like they kind of pointed out that little bit of the inconsistency for the super woke crowd. Oh, so they're pushing this diversity and inclusion thing, and he goes, it's mostly I'll say English audience, to avoid the algorithmic triggers. And you're saying push diversity and inclusion, but every time there's diversity and inclusion, it just causes conflict. So why would they want to have you in the game if you're causing conflict? Well, I mean, diversity is cancer. It's absolute cancer. The concept of it's all diversity and inclusion, that's just globalist propaganda. It's just pure Bolshevism. It's just a way. These are just things to compel behavior through social pressure. And there are people who are waking up to it, especially on Gab and Telegram, it's like somebody, recent events. He's talking about the recent event last night. Somebody of the mass deletion at a grocery store. Which here's the thing about talking about that. If you go against the Google narrative, which is the mainstream narrative, Google, YouTube, right? They do not want you going against the narrative. As you saw with the recent health issues of the past 3 years of that, you couldn't go against the narrative at all. And there's a bunch of other issues with YouTube, like if you say it, it glows from orbit. What is it? What's the quote? CIA ninjas in the trees, they glow. That's some schizophrenic dude who created that phrase. So if you say something like that, it goes against the narrative of a blonde man bad. YouTube will punish you for it. Anyway, so this guy has got this issue of he hates people of European descent, and he wants more diversity and inclusion. And as it turns out, these people also hate him. So why would you want more of the same if you guys don't get along? And these relations between these groups in America being this bad is a pretty recent. A recent thing. This isn't organic. And believe it or not, it's not coming from, where's a picture of his chubbiness? It's not coming from people like him. It's coming from It's coming from those other puppet masters. I don't know how many times did I say Soros, Rothschilds, and Schwab's, the WEF. Those people, those are the puppet masters who are pulling the strings on the world. This guy's a useful idiot. He doesn't really know what's going on. I don't think he's to the left of the bell curve. I don't know anything about him that way, but useful idiots, they have their part to play, and they hear what they want to hear, even if it's hypocritical. So he's talking. He keeps mentioning that phrase, WS, the supreme people of European descent who think this word, who think they're better. It's like, well, wouldn't you put that? Wouldn't you change out that word and substitute any other word for it? Would you? I mean, would you do that for any other ethnic group? Would you judge all groups by the attributes of a few? Would you would you apply it to the whole kind of thing? Would you like it done to your group also? So, like, what a lot of these people are getting uncomfortable with now is there's this pushback coming where we just care little what idiots like this say, because they are idiots, and they're you mean the left wing was the racist the whole time? Yeah, this guy's insanely racist. And to be fair, I think he's just kind of, a lot of these wokey wokes have some kind of cognitive issue. Even if they're not to the left of the bell curve, they're still not firing on all 8 cylinders. Like, there was some wokey woke guy who was raging about the Second Amendment, and then he went and fired at a congressman or something. Like, so you're just insane. A lot of these people on the left are just insane. Yeah, it's the 1984 thing where it's like 2 + 2. We're always at war with Oceania. We were never at war with Oceania. You just hold these logically inconsistent ideas in your head because you kind of have to function. And I mean, if we ever get free speech on Twitter, at the end of the video, it's gonna lead to a civil war, which is kind of probably gonna happen anyway, because suddenly you're gonna have a whole group of people who right now are just getting fed up with this kind of narrative. They're gonna express themselves on Twitter, and it's gonna be like this fire hose of pushback that these people for the past 6-7 years since Trumpish have not had. So I mean, that'll be interesting days. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, support channel if you wish. Join the channel, become a member, or I will see you guys all on Telegram, Odyssey, Bit Chute, and Gap.